with this I would like to start the afternoon session. I know the lunch was very good, very nice. Thanks to Rose and EMIT. And we are starting a daily session, trouble projects. So this itself a very trouble situation that we can manage a trouble project after a good lunch. Quick, small few things about my experience. I am one of the EMI local director in India, one of the youngest chapter in India, and managing for the portfolio of training as a director. I am with IBM for almost 22 years, and with almost 14 years in the project management, portfolio management, delivery management. I'm in Thailand for almost 6 months with IBM, and I'm more on teaching and training and seminars and mentoring and coaching within my own company and outside as well. I'm also participating in global BMI seminars, congress, and with this I start my presentation. This is the more or less agenda. So we will quickly recap the basics of the project management because I think we need it for our next discussion. I mean, as we go ahead in the trouble area, so we will see how the project management processes, tools and techniques are impacted in few cases, and that will even give rise to our discussions. My dear friends, actually few more things I would like to make it happen. I would like to make my discussion a little open from the point of scenarios perspective, and this is an area which can drive for hours, accepting the scenarios that may come in. So we will keep it short in the area where I would like you to interact, participate with your thoughts and experience. I'll keep it open for a time, for a minute or so. So please feel free to contribute with your thoughts, and then we can analyze and see where we stand. This is very common thing. We all know about the projects. What is that? A temporary endeavor, keywords, and it's unique. So without it, we cannot qualify this to be a project. And this is where we stand from the project definition perspective. Okay. Now, this is the entry point where we qualify a project manager to be knowledgeable enough to understand and handle the projects. Three things are there. One is the skill, the other one is the knowledge, and the third one is application of proper tools and techniques. We'll see as we go forward how these three things are very much, impacting and affecting a PM's career in his project management, experience. While we go ahead with this, I just want to highlight a few points about the PMBOK because I would like to bring into discussion this PMBOK because this is a key area where we would like to understand the key process areas. Very few, not all. We cannot touch upon all, and how this is going to help me in managing the travel projects. I will just highlight a few points. There is a number given as 47. This is the PMBOK version 5 thing. So there are 47 processes, all distributed across the 5 process groups. There is something missing in the slide. What is that? Sorry? Closing. I purposefully made it blank just to see. Okay, so there are 5. So we all know initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, control, and closing. So with this, we'll go ahead. The basic parameters that we have at hand from the project management, you all know, is a triple constant with scope, cost, and schedule integrated tightly coupled, and EMI also has introduced from version 4 2 more constants. They call it as a resource and a risk. And whatever we discuss, this will be circling around all these 5 constants and 3 constants taken separately as a triple constant. So we will discuss, as we discuss, we will see how this is impacting my all these constants. Now, as we go ahead, these constants taken all together gives rise to the framework. And this is very, very important for us to understand how the project management framework is first laid out and how this framework is getting impacted. We'll see to it, we'll come back, we'll see to it, how the framework is getting impacted when actually we are in the trouble area. This is the integrated project management view framework, which distributes all the 47 processes across the process groups and knowledge areas. Just to indicate, in this version 5, we have got one more knowledge area, that is stakeholder management, which was not very specifically told earlier. Now they have taken separately out, and we will see how important is this from the discussion that we are going to have now. As we proceed, as we talk about trouble projects, we also talk about, we think about the success criteria, where the success would be. If we do not understand the success criteria, then the other side is the trouble failure area that we will talk about later on as we proceed. Now, in the previous slide, we have seen the processes that has been laid out across all the project management process groups, right? And these are the processes, 47 processes PMI has laid down. There is nothing, PMI has not told that you cannot go beyond it. Yes, you will go beyond it. If you really think that some of the processes that you have been working are relevant, you can write that to the PMI. They have a RTC community, they will review, they will connect with you, and who knows, tomorrow it will be 48 process in version 6. But at the same time, PMI never restricts that, whether you are using one process or all 47 processes, it's up to us. That is the reason the line select appropriate, this appropriate word is very, very significant. You have to, being a project manager right from the beginning, this is where you start. You have to understand and select the appropriate processes defined for your project. Or rather, you have to define the appropriate processes for your project. And you can go ahead. As you go ahead, you can choose the other processes if found relevant, or you can even ignore them if you don't want it. Okay. Use a defined approach. What exactly is the approach means? So we talked about the processes. Once we have identified the processes that are going to be used in our project, we have to know how these processes will be connected, and they are connected. So it is just going back. When we choose the processes, we have to understand, we have to set up the connectivity between the processes. So how we choose effectively the processes, then we can have appropriate match of one and two. Very, very important. If we are violating or if we are failing in this area, we are entering into the trouble zone unknowingly. Comply with requirements to reach stakeholder needs and expectations. This is where PMI gave a very emphasis in this particular time and came out with the with a new process knowledge area, that is stakeholder. Now we all know that unless and until we have a right stakeholder selected, we have talked about, our previous speakers have spoken about the stakeholder management. I don't want to go into the details into it, but it is very much important to understand stakeholders are the key factors of the project success and failures, whether it is an internal or whether it is external. How? When we move, we will talk about it later on in details. When we move into the requirement phase, which is the starting point of our planning, we see that the first point is the requirement collection. I stop here for a second and I tell you, my dear friends, in this area, if we are not careful, we are bouncing back to the trouble area, because all the stakeholders or the business groups, which we call as a business group, will come with their needs, with their wants. Sorry, there will be 10,000 wants coming from each of the stakeholders in place. This is where the biggest challenge in the project manager or the group with SMEs in the project manager to identify what is the actual need. All the wants cannot be a need. So we have to eliminate the needs properly, but rather deal with the needs properly, so that part of the want becomes our requirement, part of the wants which are not included now can be an assumption or an exclusion. Assumption means there might not be taken, which we don't know now, which we need to clarify. And exclusion doesn't mean that it's a big no-no. Either we are pushing it for the next release or it might be a no-no. That also depends upon the discussion. Now, coming back to the assumption, what exactly is the assumption mean? Assumption means assumption directly connects us to the risk. Unless and until this requirement is clarified, we don't know what is that, and we are keeping it on a hold. And we will see what does this word hold means as we go ahead. I'm just parking it for few minutes. Balance the competing demand of the constraints to produce specified products. What does this specified product talks about? That will ultimately lead me to the business benefits. So unless and until we know the requirement properly, we will not be knowing exactly what is the balance the competing demand, and we will not be able to produce the service that we are intending to. So right from the beginning, we are seeing a possibility of entering into a trouble zone unless and until we are careful. This is the general layout taken from PMBOK. How the process groups are coupled, integrated. We all know about it, nothing to discuss, just to have a reference. That we have rather if I take this line, dotted lines, for each process, we have inputs, we have tools and techniques to deal with the process, and then we ultimately come to the deliverables as an output. That's an indication. So at the end, either we have a project deliverables or we have project records, which will ultimately give the records will produce my process assets, and this is another very important area. The process assets are the area which is the lessons learned at the end of the day, and this talks about what exactly has gone wrong, if at all has gone wrong, what was the trouble area, how we have troubleshooted, etc. etc. And the first part is very clear, the deliverables which goes to the end result. Now here, the unclear requirements and the assumptions, as we just talked about a few minutes back. What the cards mean, the risk is very high at the beginning. This picture has also been taken from PMBOK. I believe we have all seen that many times. Just referring only for discussion that we are having now. So, if the assumption is not clear, clarified at the very beginning of the project, assumption clarification may happen in many different ways, like intelligence and all. We all know that, so I'm not going into that. So, only harping upon the point, if the assumptions are not clarified, then we are in a very risky zone. And as and when we proceed, and at the same time, you see the cost of change is minimum at the beginning and it increases. So, taking all together, if the risk is not mitigated, this risk is not mitigated at the beginning, we will be incurring more and more cost. Means we will be having lesser GP, rather more GP leakage, and who knows, the project might go to a loss and can be it can be damaging for the entire. This is another area, that's the concept, to understand how to put forward, how to put a check, how to put a mechanism during our control, when we are in the control phase, how we put forward a mechanism. We are all aware of this EV, earned value mechanism. This is giving you a very clear scenario that while we start a project, we have a budget. So the budget is in the green line, okay, and it is also showing that we are earning less. This is one of the scenarios which is basically showing you a trouble scenario, that we are supposed to earn in the green line, but we have earned less at the higher cost. So means there is a cost variance, and this cost variance is also connected to our schedule variance. We all know about all these things, and this cost variance and schedule variance are going as a CPI, the cost performance index and schedule performance index will be below 1, and this is a very clear indication that the project is in trouble. So this particular mechanism gives me a very clear indicative view, and rather it is a proactive project management which gives a very clear indicative view that yes, my dear friend, you are now entering into a troubled area. So we have to be very careful, and I will come back to this diagram again. In our previous slide, we have talked about the same, the variances. Only the variances will come, rather variance will come and will be indicated very much when we are in the trouble state. So in the trouble state, rather before the trouble state has been declared or identified, variances has been noticed. This is the first warning that variances are coming up. So you might be traveling very soon to the trouble area. So the variances starts increasing and your trouble starts increasing. The second question, how to mitigate that, how to capture it, what is the root cause of the trouble. First of all, what is the root cause of the trouble and how you want to handle it. That is the immediately first question that comes in mind, and we'll see. The next bullet talks about a product when not aligned with the business needs. I stopped here for a while. Business needs means what? Where are we now going back? We're going back to the requirements. So basically we messed up in the requirements. So basically we have not clarified the assumptions. So basically we have not understood the requirements. So going back. What has gone wrong? Which process was not followed properly? If you look at the project scope management and in the scope management, plan scope management, collect requirements. So we have collected the requirements. This is a sequence. We have collected the requirements. While we are collecting the requirements, probably we have not done our good job in the assumption definition. And with that we carried on. We have fed the input to the next process, which is the define scope. So we have frozen the scope. We have frozen the scope. We have made our baseline clear. We have signed it off with something unclear. Source of trouble. So we have already incorporated our source of trouble, and it goes on. With the inaccurate scope, we are going to create a WS. Okay, so this is how I am mapping it back to this slide. Schedule variance. Now, when we have messed up with the scope, means we have not identified the scope properly, means we have not identified our task properly, means we have not extended properly, means we have not done our scheduling properly, because scheduling comes after the estimation is over. So this is where we are landing up, and definitely for sure we are messing up with our schedule. So schedule variance must happen. It will happen. So when the schedule variance happens, one of the key areas that you must look at was my estimation method. Go back. So this is how we go back and forth, trace back and forth to identify people if we are in trouble and my ED is showing that something has gone wrong in my schedule variance. That is a parameter going showing me some negative value. Means definitely something has gone wrong with my scope. Okay. Cost of change requires jeopardize project business case. I think it is very, very clear till now. Why the cost of change requires jeopardize the project business case? Because again, there is a scope creep or there is a leakage. The scope was not well. There can be a very big debate with the customer at this point in time, whether it is a change or whether it is a leakage. And this kind of discussions might lead an organization out of business as well. They can say, I have told you, you have not understood assumption. So I think now we can understand where are we circling back and forth to come back with the actual understanding of the requirements, scope baseline. Otherwise, this kind of situations will arise. Okay. Unfavorable cost variances compromise project financial return. Obviously, if we are making a loss, first the leakage will be appearing very hard. Leakages will be there. And if the leakages, keeps on increasing, the GP will be coming down to 0 at some point in time, and then it is a negative GP. Okay. With all this taken together, if these things keep on happening, what the team will think about it? Because you cannot hide it. It is very much, evident. It is very much visible. You can see what's happening as a project performance standpoint. So what team is going to feel about it? Team morale will go down. As the team morale goes down, it is a cascading effect. the work quality will come down, the defects will be increasing. Again, you are setting your schedule, you not put more effort, so you are incurring more cost. Okay?
In the process spreadsheet or the matrix, we have an item for scope verification. So you verify that.
I'll come back, sir.
Okay.
I'll just take your question. But for your information, this term scope verification is no more there now. It is scope validation. In the PMBOK version 5, they have removed this verification, they have changed this verification to validation. But again, they are, as per the definition, they are all the same. I'll come back to the scope validation. Okay. The question remains, do all travel projects fail? Sometimes, in many cases, yes. Sometimes no, because we can put forward a well-defined, mechanism to take it back. We can even recover the project, and we have recovered the project. In the PMI, award-winning sessions, I have seen that many projects have shown which were troubled, but they have recovered. Okay, multi-million-dollar projects. But yes, even troubled projects do fail, and this is our focus of our discussion. So that is the reason I have put forward this slide. Okay. Now we have seen the variances. What if the variance goes out of control? The projects are definitely sure to fail. Okay? If indicated numbers of CPI and SPI are falling below 70%, my dear friends, please be sure that your project might fail in 1 or 2 months. So don't allow that to happen, to come to that level. Immediately put forward some actions in place so that it can be pulled up. Okay? Even there are chances of project failure happening in the very beginning, and as an inexperienced project manager, we might not be aware that we are injecting, some defect or some kind of issues in the project or risk in the project, which is a cause of failure tomorrow. But it has happened long back. Okay, what a thing. Unrealistic business case. So when we are in the conception phase, or when we are sometimes even we call solution outlining phase, we have to be very clear, because that is the main engagement with the SME and the consultants, and even the project manager is involved, might not be full time. It is full time or part time, it depends. But the project manager is ultimately the owner, and as Petrus has mentioned before, it's a big no. Please raise your voice. No, it can't happen, because that is the area when you are getting handing over from the consultants to your arena, the project manager. If you feel that the business case is unrealistic, please raise your voice, and whatever needs to be done at that point in time. Otherwise, you are failed at the very beginning of the project, and you will realize probably later when you can't deliver. Okay, so that is the case. Unsound technology. There should not be any commitment to the customer which will lead to the unsound technology question. If the customer is forcing that I have this technology, I will use it, this, that. If it doesn't work, make a good evaluation and then only say yes and no. Okay. Similarly, planning phase. Accepting unfeasible objectives. What exactly we mean by unfeasible objectives?
Not smart.
Sorry?
Not smart.
Not smart. I will just like to stop here for a while, for 1 minute or so, and I will give you an example. In 2008, I was in Japan, and I was with a solutioning team. We are trying to figure out one business for one big customer there. While the planning was done, the planning was made ready. We are presenting it to the internal Japanese team over in Japan. It was a big cry, and they said, no, it can't happen, and we cannot approve it. What is the problem? Because it was reviewed by our internal team, the department team. And they said that the planning process, it was showing us 45% effort. They said it should not be less than 70% effort. We can't accept anything less than 75. We kept on asking questions. Why it should be 70%? They said execution should take less time, planning should take more and more time, which is we are violating the PMI concepts. Fine, that's a rule by them. Okay, I think it is because of that. If the assumptions are not clarified, you are still in that zone. So I think that is one of the good approach that we should follow. And there we also have some questions regarding the change management and accepting the change. I will come back. project failed during execution phase, which is very much like we see the failure coming up more in the execution phase rather we are realizing the conception phase. Okay? Poor technological solution and change control management. We have spoken since the morning. We have been discussing since the morning. In the change control, I'll just come back. I'll talk about few words and I will put the question to the audience first. But I'll just wait for a minute. Let me come back to the trouble area, and then probably we can talk about it. Please keep that in mind. Closing phase. Another area where the projects fail, and unfortunately, it is the situation where the project is about to end. The project is failing. It happens. Why the project failed at the closing stage? What will be the possible reason? The reason is that the exit criteria is not defined properly. I believe there was a question, from you 2 minutes back. The exit criteria should be very well defined for this particular piece of scope, and if the scope is there, the scope validation process must happen, and when the scope validation process is happening, this exit criteria must satisfy A to Z. Otherwise, it is not. So if that is clearly defined in the total, very beginning, then it is fine. Otherwise, there is a chance that debate will come up and change management system will be in place. So we will not at all give any chance to make this happen. The exit criteria must be defined. So I think now we are trying to figuring out what is the importance of the concept phase. All these are defined in the concept phase. Okay? And lack of poor scope verification. It is now not verification now, it is validation. I have just put purposefully because still now probably we are not aware of these things. It is in PMBOK version 4 terminal version, it is now scope validation. So we have seen some important points, okay, which gives rise to the trouble zone. Now we are trying to see what are the root causes which are affecting, which are impacting those points which we have discussed. Okay. Now, poor project management. Why are we talking about poor project management? What has gone wrong here? Can anybody tell us very quickly? What has gone wrong in project management area? Why the word poor has been used? Either the skill is not proper, we have identified a wrong person as a project manager. Now, why the wrong person? Sometimes it happens that it is a domain specific. We need to have a project manager who has an absolute knowledge of the SAP system, who is managing a SAP project. So, knowledge of SAP system is very, very important for you to understand and function well. Otherwise, anybody else put in the project might fail. Or the domain is very important. So, for example, we are managing in oil and industry. So, we need to have somebody from the oil industry, domain specific person. Otherwise, we will not be able to effectively manage the project. So that is the project management skills and tools and techniques, right? Poor process management. What does it mean? This is connected to point number 1. Unless we are aware of the domain knowledge, we will not be able to identify the right process. Out of 47 processes, as I indicated, and even in the PMI, it is very clearly mentioned. You may or may not. PMBOK never talks about you have to. It says up to you. Okay? But again, we have to be very careful about choosing those processes which are important for a project out of 47, you can use 47 or anyone you like. So that is very common here now. We have to understand and identify the clear processes which are applicable for my project. Right? Lack of management and user support. Now, when the project is turning towards a trouble state, it is not in the straight line, it is moving. Many times we need management support. For example, cost overrun has already happened, or it is happening. We know that it is going to happen. Some scope clarification has not happened, so we don't even know whether it is going to be hitting us hard or it is going to the customer. So, at some point in time, we need some management support and decisions. If that is not happening, means if stakeholder is not willing to support us, okay, then it is one of the reasons for the failure. And it happens. Sometimes management doesn't put that particular focus on it. Management changes. So that could be one of the reasons. Okay. Frequent changes. Again, we have seen that question coming up again and again. Now, what if the frequent changes keep on coming? We have no hand to stop the change, and changes will come. Changes have to come, and changes will come. How do we deal with the changes? My dear friend, I stop here again for a while to let you know from the technical perspective of the project management. For every plan, we have a critical path. Critical path cannot change, right? That is the definition, that is the project timeline which comes from the critical path. And each and every critical items are my risk area. We have the parallel paths. Those parallel paths might be my near critical paths. In this situation, if you are getting changes very frequently, what's going to happen? Answer number one, it's going to impact the critical path. Either it's going to impact the critical path very hard, timeline must change. If you are going to incorporate it, because it's a fixed timeline project. We can change it. So if you are going to inject in between the critical, in between, so timeline must have to change. Or we have to put it back in the parallel paths, which might be near critical. Now again, question arises. How can we put back in the critical path? We know. I mean, there could be some simple way of doing it. We can either use the crashing, or we can use the fast flag, or we can use a combination of both. But which one we are using at what point in time, whether we should at all use or not, whether we should go back to the customer and say, yes, we can do it now, whether we can defend the change, although the change is accepted, is all individuals to the project. We cannot discuss, because this is where I thought to have a discussion with you for a few minutes to understand, in your case, how the changes were dealt, maintaining balances in these three areas. But other than these three areas, you can't do anything. Either you are accepting the change and putting in the critical path by shortening the duration of other tasks, by crashing the individual activity itself and making some space and injecting the task itself inside, or you are putting in the near critical paths. But be very careful. If you are injecting the task in the near critical path, then that can be now in this situation could be a critical path. So you are adding more risk to the project. Do you have that contingency with your fund to manage the risk? So risk means again more activity. So again the plan will be impacted. So it's a cascading effect. So my dear friend, this is a very complicated area we have to deal now. And more frequent change means more frequent change in the baseline if at all the thing is approved. Okay? Market economic context leading to impose budget and time constraints. This is the area probably which in short we say schedule is important, cost might not be important. For example, telco. Take an instance of a telco. Say for example 8G or 9G, what technology is coming up tomorrow. And the telephone company, they are eagerly waiting to launch your product on 1st of August. If they miss to deliver on 1st of August to the customers, they lose the huge customer base. Somebody else will might come and take it up. So schedule is much more important than cost in this particular case. The market scenario will change because so we cannot blame it. So that is very important. Whatever needs to be done to be done. And I have faced this kind of situation before as well. So I mean there is a big no-no. People work day and night continuously for months to make it happen on that day itself. Okay? So, roadblocks. I think by this time we have clarified many things. So we will touch upon and we will go forward. Okay? For example, source of trouble, we know. Change control process. In absence of why source of trouble? In few cases, we have seen that although we talk a lot of hunky-dory things in the project, in many cases we have seen that change control process doesn't exist. We have seen what is the reality talks about. Sometimes even customer picks up the phone and says, Jack, what can you do a favor for that? Sometimes even people say, please change a button from left to right. So all this kind of requests keep on coming in. The reason behind that is not the property management process is not visible. So if that is the case, right from the beginning you are in trouble. So my dear friends, make a habit of establishing the right change management process from the day one and make it operational. Okay? Change of scope. Scope creep. It was mentioned very clearly in the very beginning. I will say. So change of scope. Scope will change as the changes happen. Either the scope, time on schedule, something will change. But this is where we are talking about the scope change. The scope will change. And if the scope changes, we have discussed about the fact, scope change, WBS change of estimate, go back to your plan, again come back, assess the risk, go back to your plan, again come back if needed. This is how it should be done. So these are the factors that cause the trouble. And most important point which we have not discussed. As we see the change, as we see the trouble, as we see, as we are near to the closure of the project, the trouble comes beginning, we have some cushion, some buffer at hand to deal with it. But as we proceed towards the end, we create more pressure on the team, and that causes much more defects. And my dear friends, this is another risky area. If the defect starts coming up, it's diverging, it's never converging. And then to arrest this particular problem, probably you might have to live longer years. This is another area where will surely lead to the failure. I've seen that happening. Probably you have also seen that happening. Defects must be controlled from the beginning. Defect injection rate should not be very high. Okay? We have talked. Okay? Now, here, the most important thing, fast overruns. Whenever we talk about the symptoms of trouble projects, we talk about, sometimes we say fast overruns are used to justify the future overruns. If that is visible, means we are definitely for sure we are in the trouble area. Okay, I've seen that happening. This is from my experience. The second last one, project members overacting even with minor issues. Have you seen that? Whenever there is a trouble area, it is not my defect, it is your defect. Immediately the project, the team member will come and say, it is nothing to do with me. I am going home now. It is something to do with him. By the time he has gone for vacation. Now what is going to happen? Failure. So if this kind of discussion starts happening, then definitely for sure, it is one of the reasons for this. So in order to arrest this kind of situation, we have to mentor the team. Okay, we will come back. Now I am going deep diving in little bit more details, okay, about the symptoms of trouble project. So when we talk about the scope, now this is in sequence. If you remember the diagram which we have shown before, the processes, you can relate this to the diagram. So first, in the planning phase, your scope is visible. Okay, so first you are with the scope. When you are with the scope management, what you hit, either you can hit an unclear requirement, the requirement is not clear, or it could be an ambiguous requirement, or it could be very high level requirement. So high level requirement means assumption. It will be pushed to an assumption. Okay. Ambiguous requirement means needs and wants difference. Gets spoken. Incomplete and unclear requirement. Incomplete means again it will be an assumption, but again there is a chance that we can get it clarified and we can make it happen during our project life cycle. Now, with these 3 points, if I go to the reason, what are the reasons for these 3 things? The first one talks about improper identification of stakeholder. Very, very important, as we have discussed before as well. Stakeholder identification is most important, and the stakeholder identification in the PMI framework, it is in my initiation phase. So, going back to my PMI knowledge, PMI says, first identify the stakeholders. First create the project charter, and then you identify the stakeholder. Unless you are done with it, do not proceed. And see, the first hit I get from the stakeholder management. Okay? If that is not identified properly, I will definitely for sure going to have the incomplete and unclear. Well, you have identified stakeholders. What is next? You have to manage it. Stakeholders will not, I mean, don't expect that they will come and give you the scope as is. This is my dear friend. You have to fight and you have to get it done. In some cases, it's a very big thing. You have to go on and on. You have to schedule meetings, but again, they might not be willing to meet you again and again. So you have to be very clear with your questions. What are the questions that you are posing? Intelligent questions must be there. Multiple questions should be avoided. Kind of open questions should be avoided. Closed questions should be encouraged. All this kind of intelligence should be added. Make your questionnaire ready. Send it back to the people whom you want to discuss. And the good thing is that we have good agenda and finally the meeting. Meetings should not be without any agenda. That's a very bad thing. Sometimes we even do that. Okay. So that way you can ask the number 1. Sorry, number 2. Lack of project management skills. We talked. So lack of project management skills is high level information. Because why? if you think of the process before, I'm trying to connect you here and the other one. So what that talks about? Project inputs, tools and techniques, and the outputs, right? So inappropriate tools and techniques being chosen, and as a result, you will end up with high level information because the information is not solidified. So improper questionnaire. So accepting ad hoc changes, activity is not included in the project baseline. So all this will lead to particular thing. Okay. Too many open activities, lack of percentage complete progress. Very, very important. When we report to the management, we have to be very clear about not only reporting even to us, but to be very clear about the percentage complete, which will be governed by your PV calculation, which you have shown. Okay. Now, after scope, we get to the schedule management. Okay. And if you try to relate the fact that we have discussed from the scope, after the scope is defined, what we do? We go to the schedule, right? So this is where we are. And we talked about the multiple linear critical paths. Okay? If the multiple critical paths are there, it will be going to my critical path tomorrow. So basically lack of knowledge in using network diagrams. A lot of things are very much common, we have been discussing as we are going ahead, so I am skipping down. But important points I am trying to highlight. Lack of knowledge of critical path calculation is another important point. If you have not done a good job in critical path calculation, you missed out activities. And that is again a scope, an injection point for your scope creep. Very, very important. Right skill, choosing the right skill with the right knowledge and right technology, and they should be able to handle their projects. We have seen the triple constants, scope constant schedule, which will give rise to a quality management. If the quality is poor, means everything has gone to a waste. So these are the reasons and these are the symptoms. Major issues. So among these particular major issues that we have seen that, I would like to stop for a moment in the point number 2. Okay, point number 1. This talks about identify and clarify relevant project issues as quickly as possible. And to see that we remember the start, the issue and risk. So issues and risks will be there right from the beginning of the project, and if we are not able to manage them as quickly as possible, it will keep on increasing the risk and increasing the cost. Number 2, the very important, look at the original agreement. This gives rise to your contract. If the contract is not clear, if the contract is not understood, then definitely you are increasing your scope. And that will give unclear requirements, ambiguous requirements. You will be injecting more and more scope later on, and that is the area of your scope creep as well. Identify what can be controlled and what can be influenced. We have to understand, because when we talk about a big project with 10,000 activities, then we cannot, we can influence some of them, which automatically gets controlled. But we have to put our eye on the critical path as we have indicated, and they must be controlled, each and every one, with a very thorough knowledge. Otherwise, if it is in the near critical path or in the parallel path, we can even influence them. If we need, we can control them. Maintain the project in a safe environment. What do you mean by safe? Do not bring him in the troubled area and start explaining that you are the problem for the trouble. So maintain the person in such a way that that guy feels good, feels great, although it is his problem. The ownership goes to the PM at the end of the day. You can forget it. But at the same time, the guy is maintained properly so that he does a proper job and we are getting it. Okay? I think these points are very clear. Trouble consequence of projects, risk and issue. I will go to the third point, which identification and resolve these critical project issues. What is the critical project issues? As we go ahead, we are managing the project tasks, and these project tasks which are in the critical path are my critical issues area, the source of critical issues area. Okay, so that is the reason we have put this one particular thing. Crucial that troubleshooting effort is not distracted from the real problems. Very, very important. When we are in the trouble state, we are getting more and more activities only for the trouble, day by day. So try to separate the team into two parts. These are seen happening and also I've tried that, happened very good. So divide the thing in two parts. First part will be basically handling your existing problem, existing risk, existing issue. Other part should be focusing on the troubled area only. And you as a project manager, your work will increase, but you have to use your effective communication means to handle this two things separately to manage the project. Okay. These are the area where we have the pitfalls. Planning and estimation. Cost and time estimation can be unscientific. It will be. Because when we are in the trouble state, if you are not maintaining it, you will be going to unrealistic cost and schedule. Scheduling, inaccurate standard templates. Well, from the tools and techniques, we have to use templates. For example, Microsoft project, we have to use, but many a times we use our own specific templates. If they are not appropriate, this will give rise to an inappropriate schedule. Governance escalations, contracts and formal agreements, very, very important. That is going to give you a trouble right from the very beginning. We have to understand that, conceptualize the contract very well right from the beginning so that the scope creep, again the scope creep is coming again and again. This is the area where we can manage. Dependency management. I believe we are all aware of the dependency management, dependency very well. Means task to task dependency. If they are not understood properly, the constraints are not identified properly, then this is going to definitely impact the critical path. And this is where we cannot compromise. So dependency management must be very thorough right from the beginning. Project rescue. How can we rescue the project? As we just talked about, we first try to see or visualize the criticality of the project, right, or the trouble, right from the beginning, where the EV mechanism is indication 80% CPI, 85% CPI, 75% CPI. That time onwards, we see that the project is going down. Okay. Now, from that time onwards, we have to be very careful. Product scope should be reviewed because something is going wrong with my project and product review, and as a result, the defects are coming up, variances are increasing. Okay, so this is how we have to rescue a project right from the beginning, from the Indian EV, whichever we have put forward, the results that the are getting at hand. Okay. Revised objectives must be periodically monitored until proven feasible. Objectives might keep on changing, as we know that changes comes up, even the objectives sometimes were unclear, might be before, but it has to be reviewed again and again so that we are not missing out any bigger picture. Okay. Remedial actions are required. Fixing a defect, right now we have discussed, we have to fix the defect. Implementing process improvement, what does it mean? We have implemented a process from the project management framework that we have talked about. Okay, but that might be improved. That should be improved. If we are not improving that particular process which is tailored to my project, the project might not succeed. Because the project might not be fitting exactly one in one with the process. So you should be tailoring and you should be looking at the improvement. And at the end of the day, it is good practice to inform to the PMI that I have done this and these are the improvements. Okay. Acquiring additional resources, considering the critical path, crashing, as we have discussed. If you are getting a change, then definitely we have to get new, few more resources. How we implement, that is our, absolutely our target. Reviewing inadequate project management documentation. This comes basically, mainly this arises from the stakeholder management. We do not document the MOMs. Many times we have seen that in the reality, we do not document the communication. We do not make the MOMs. We do not circulate the MOMs. MOMs are vague. MOMs are ambiguous. Okay, so it happens. It is a reality. It happens. Okay, so this has to be arrested. We have to put the right English. We have to put the right context, write the MOM, circulate, and it signed off. Top 5 actions taken to resolve trouble projects. I start from my previous statement, communication. So we have to improve our communication. Whatever communication is going to at what point in time, document that and make sure that it is well documented and MOMs are all ready over the phone or whatever. Improve stakeholder management. What does it mean? Here probably I think most of us have used the stakeholder mapping. At least you know about that. Not then probably have to Google before because time is running out. I could have talked about that as well. Stakeholder mapping is very, very important to identify what the stakeholder at each point in time, whether he is aware of me or not. If not, then we have to make some action to remove them. So there are two axes: degree of support and degree of influence. So based on that, we have three probable zones where we can put them: high, medium, low. And based on that, we can move them. We can shift the stakeholder accordingly. If the opponent then probably have to make a follower or it make an inclusive. So that way we can keep on moving back and forth the stakeholder where we do our own actions, and that is the reason improved stakeholder management will come from the particular point. Okay. Redefine the project. Yes, this comes from the change. When the project change management comes, and my dear friend, change management might come from the customer. It might also be from your side. If you think that there should be something done or it was not clear, please raise a change request from your side. Making the stakeholder know that you are raising internal change request. It is not always external. It is also something to do with internal. Replace the project manager with a consultant to manage the project recovery. This is the most important point. At some point in time, the project manager is too bogged down to the project and too biased. This biasness must be taken out. So, put a third party, third eye, consultant with a new view, new idea of the project. Let them come and see the review of the project, and if possible, let them even manage it. But it's a decision. So, it's just a number I've taken from Google. So, this is indicated. I think we have spoken about all the lessons, the points that should give rise to the lessons learned, and let us go through it quickly if you have any other view. The last point probably I have not spoken, critical milestones. What exactly is this? This is all about our reporting. When we report to the senior management, we don't give the entire plan. The CEO or the managing director, they don't have time to see the plan, but they just see your milestones. So, at what point in time, what is the milestone covered, to what extent it is covered, what is the risk connected to it, we have to put it very thoroughly. And this is the area probably we can manage it well. We can involve the management as well. That we need as support. Yes, sir.
Some organizations also use KPIs.
KPIs, yes.
Let's show it. Everything is red. Some are red, some are yellow. And so that
it is a trouble project based on what KPI shows.
Right.
Is it a common practice or?
KPIs are, as I have seen, probably it could be a debate. KPIs, as I have seen, it is mainly used in an AMS kind of project, in a maintenance kind of project. Okay, project can categorize in two different ways. There is design and build and the AMS kind of project. But yes, that is a measure. Okay, here we have metrics in the design and build that schedule variance should not be more than 10%, the cost variance should not be more than 10%. But the KPI is mainly used in AMS kind of project. But yes, that is a measure.
From my experience, the senior management likes to see KPIs.
Absolutely.
And
That is their bread and butter.
time to see other stuff.
Absolutely, that is their bread and butter. Here we talk about the milestones, the variances. There we talk about the KPIs. Absolutely. Good. Further questions?
Thank you so much for this.
Thank
You talk about stakeholder management, right?
Correct.
And yeah, I do agree that stakeholder management is difficult, and especially getting the recovery out of them is more difficult, right? But then, can you give some examples on how do you handle it in a much more practical manner?
Okay. Stakeholder management is a very big, I would say, it's a wonder in a particular project because we are dealing with human beings. Let us start from here. We are dealing with a human being. The first point is that whether you are liked or not, whether that guy is liking you or not, open up. He might not like you, or his management might not like you. You means your team, your company, your team, your whatever you are doing. I might not like company A working for you. You get my point? Or I see my work as a threat. Probably it has happened. I've seen that it has happened. that internal company organization, they have an IT department, but they are outsourcing without other IT department. They might not want to share with you anything. Or there is a third party working and they are going to hire another third party to replace this third party. The KTF will not happen. This third party, initial third party A which was there, they will not even share with you a single documentation. They don't have it. They will just walk out. With many reasons, many arguments. Who is impacting? It is you. So, building a stakeholder means building a person is one of the most difficult parts of the project. So, you have to get them in confidence first of all. How you get it? It is absolutely your company's capabilities, thing. But we have talked about some processes. But that is not the end of the line. Leading a person to getting him in line and getting the information in your track is definitely a very difficult proposition. Okay? But at the first go, you will never get all the information that you want. But at the same time, you cannot keep on repeating going, to him again and again. That might even irritate him. So you have to make a balance. How you go and what you ask. So questionnaire is very, very important. Okay? So in some companies I have seen that, probably even I have seen in my company, we are trained for 1 year in order to go and face any customer. You will not believe it, we have to repeat this kind of presentations again and again, nights after nights, days after days, for one slide in front of the senior people. How you are presenting, your video recorded, you are showing the video, and you also see, they also give comments. On this one, will you improve? It's a big no.
Thank you, Sumit. I have just based on the slide you mentioned about to recover the project is to replace the project manager. I'm the one who managing the chocolate project to try to recover, and then should I tell the sponsor, please review me? I'm not able to take this kind of thing.
I'm sorry,
One of the solution action to recover the troubles project is to replace the project manager.
Correct.
But I'm the one taking care of the project. And then should I tell the sponsor I'm not qualified to do this project, I quit?
No.
From the project manager point of view, I'm talking about from the project manager point of view.
Right.
It's a contradiction. Yeah, from the sponsor point of view, video editor. That's good.
Okay. Your question has two sides. Okay, let me deal with both the sides. First is that you want to lead the project. You are in a project which is under fire, and at this point in time you are not comfortable. You want that, okay, I want to leave. Okay, I don't want to deal with the fire. That is one scenario. The other scenario is that the project has gone to that extent of trouble area, probably it is out of your hands, and probably you might not have that skill. I mean, it is very, common thing. At some point, somebody else, if they arrive, they come, they might have that experience to handle the trouble. It might happen, but the point here is, I don't have the money to keep both the people. The cost. So I'm giving you multiple options. Either is that you are there, somebody else comes, both of you can support with joining hands. The point number 2 will be to maintain 2 people. I don't have a sufficient budget. So probably I can give you another project. I can ask you to prospect to support with this one. Let the consultant come and pick up your role because he has this kind of skill. He has handled this before. So let us see how it happens. Or the third option is very clear. You want to leave. So it all depends upon the decision at that point in time. What is being decided. So it is not a straight go answer, but again it depends upon the decision. But these 3 scenarios, either one of them will fall in place. So nobody is going to force people out of the project, should not be, but definitely with certain reasons. They might ask people to step into other projects and leave a space and somebody else should come in that way. Because after all it's company better money. Right? Okay.
Would you mind to come back to the slide top 5 action taken to recover trouble? Actually, I have the experience in the same issue as him, but different point of view.
Please.
Because you see the replace the project manager. I have some experience about not me, he's another guy, but the project is delayed, and this project manager they spend a lot of effort to rescue the project. But finally, he's fine. But after that, 2 or 3 weeks after the new project manager comes, the project from the critical is go up because he's the previous project manager. So my question is, if the project manager only focus to rescue the project, but they never think to rescue himself, how you share your view? Because this is a real experience for me that I found that it's not it's so pity that project manager, the previous there, spent a lot of effort to help the project, but I'm not sure the problem is improved communication or stakeholder management is the key. But
Okay. To answer back your question, sometimes it also happens that there is a customer request.
no, I think it's the top management decision.
No, top management decision will come later at the end. It's top management decision, but it might be a customer request as well, right?
So this is the client side, it's not the contractor side. So the project is delayed, but the client and the contractor work very closely, spend a lot of effort to rescue the project. But after he find 2 weeks, the project is go up because his effort. The new manager, project manager is take the benefit, actually don't do anything.
Okay. I know what you're saying. You are saying that okay, fine, everything has happened, PM has been replaced, but the rescue has happened before only, not realized. But the rescue is happening. It is visible now when the new manager has come. It is just a backup because you have done whatever needs to be done. You have rescued the project, by the way, but it has happened by the way. I mean, the new manager comes and gets the credit.
I'm not sure that the problem is maybe the project manager is only concentrate for the rescue the project, but he not communicate with the top management.
Okay. I'll just stop here for a while and give you one more idea. Probably it might benefit your solution as well. Project manager, when managing a project, can have multiple dimensional views. Number one, that guy must be very much customer centric. Okay, he's very much polite, very much customer centric. He wants to manage the customer, stakeholder, and as a result, his focus is spreading out to the team. Option number one. Option number two, there will be a manager who is much more focusing on the team benefits, so that he gets more benefit out of the work. And there can be a third person who can keep a balance. This is very difficult to keep a balance of both. We see the second option more and more than first and third. Okay. Now, if that is the situation, in that case, you might have, if you are in that particular area, okay, in that nature, you surely will be missing out the communication because you are more towards the team. What is going to happen? If you are more towards the team, if you lose out the bigger picture, you might not get bigger scope, you might not get that support as well. Probably that is one of the areas where you are failing, the support is missing out. And as because the stakeholder support is missing out, you are failing. This could be one possibility. Or the other way around, if you are missing out your team members, they might feel, I am ignored, I am neglected. Why should I contribute? Let me leave. That is another reason of your failure. So, to keep a balance in the both, which is experience, it is a very senior management's job to understand, to feel the pulse, symptoms, we call symptoms, in both the areas and manage the project. So, if you are focusing on this one and neglecting that one, you will fail, other way around, you will fail. And both ways you miss out communication, whether internal or external. So, probably that might happen.
So in Thai we call it management is not ใจเย็น they're very ใจร้อน
Okay. Any further questions?
I'd just like to add to the speaker's comments about trouble project. Your question first and the question over there. From my experience, because I work on the construction projects and managing, the first point is troubleshooting is a very specialist and very stressful area of project management, so it's not everybody's comfortable area to work in. In relation to managing stakeholders, my experience is the first thing you need to understand as a troubleshooter is what impact that stakeholder has on the project. Because if they only have a minimal impact, you cannot afford to spend too much time addressing the issue. If it is a major impact, you have to address the issue and sit down and go with him. But if you try to address all of the issues, you go crazy trying to solve everything. So you have to, as the troubleshooter, identify exactly what is important on the project, what's causing the problem, and go to it. And sometimes you get the idea from the people, but most of the time the people on a trouble project are worried about their jobs, so they'll tell you what they want you to hear. It's not always the truth, it's not always the facts, it's the truth as they see it. So the point in managing stakeholders is understand the impact, understand the facts, put your strategy in place and deal with the problem. So there's no perfect answer. The next question about replacing the project manager. When I come in as a troubleshooter, I don't replace anybody unless they're not doing their job. But what I do is say, we have to fix the problem, we have to achieve this. If they don't not prepared to get in and work, then you have to replace the people. Sometimes you have to change the job. But what you cannot afford to do is to lose all of the IP, people's experience on the project, because there's a lot of good things that have happened on the project. As a troubleshooter, you can never recover 2 or 3 years worth of work. You have to be able to tap into that. You have to be aware as a troubleshooter what the morale is, because you're dealing with some very serious morale issues. The last thing people want to do is lose their job. You can't always assume that the project manager was the sole problem of the project. Maybe it's outside of his control. But you have to identify the facts, because the people who own the project have called you in to fix the problem. So you have to understand what the problem is, and you've got to be able to use all the information available, including the previous project manager. So I've never sacked a project manager, and I've been troubleshooting, but my experience is obviously different to yours. But I'm just saying, if you ever get involved in project troubleshooting, the first important thing is understand the facts and understand the impacts for the various stakeholders, and try and use as much of the information for the existing project as you can. Thank you.
Okay, so we are gonna stop here. More questions? Okay. One last one, all right?
Yeah, I just want to ask about how governance plays in the troubled project. So if you work in a very service-orientated organisation where the knowledge about project management is extremely immature, how do you try to respond as a professional project manager trying to deliver something that they don't really understand in terms of project management processes? Did I make myself clear?
Can we have this in the discussion at the end? Because this is something that I think will take some time to address. Because this doesn't only apply to your service organization, but I think it applies to probably many organizations in Thailand. Okay, so I'm not sure that I am sure, let's say that project management is not all that mature in many of our organizations. That's why we are here. So I think we should address that in length at the end of our discussions. I want to highlight one thing, sort of joke to my friend here. I think you should definitely negotiate a higher salary as a project manager. All right. So you should always anticipate the worst when you are managing a multi-million baht project or multi-million dollar project. A project manager is most important, and therefore, if you have a lot on your shoulders, you want to make sure you're getting enough money for it, so that day when it comes and somebody else reaps the benefits that you're talking about, you probably have 60 or 70% out of that. You only take 30. All right. So these things happen all the time. Right? It's the life of a project manager. It's a fact, and you have to accept it. There is no avoidance. Okay? You will eventually be sacked, and somebody else will reap your benefits. Accept it. All right? Stop challenging it. This can happen all the time in project management. And so, what do? We try to get higher salaries. Joe's PMs are here. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Sumit. Very, very interesting and very solid knowledge of PMBOK and the principles and the processes and all the knowledge areas. I always bring up this example. I'm sure Sumit is aware of it. I brought it up in a few presentations before about all the knowledge areas that we have, where we have stakeholder management now. Put it up on LinkedIn once for everybody to see. Everybody remember what all the knowledge areas are? After lunch? Right? And so if you want to remember what they are, remember this statement. Okay? I should take control and quit helping customers ruin projects. Okay? So what is I? Integration management. Okay? Should, Sumit was talking about it. Scope management. I should take time management. Control, C, cost management. And quit, quality management. Helping customer, help, H, human resource management. Right? And quit helping customers, another C, communication management. Ruin, risk management. Projects, procurement management. Now I have to find another word for the stakeholder management. That's at the end, okay? So, I should, projects, it doesn't work, okay? All right. So this is how you remember the knowledge areas, and this is one tip to add on to the solid knowledge of Sumit, right? As far as the PMBOK is concerned, and how we use the recipes that we already have in place to troubleshoot projects. Thank you very much, Sumit. We appreciate it.